Council meeting being held Tuesday, August 6, 2024 at 6 p.m. The time is now 6:04 p.m. Alderperson Akers was engaged in the discussion. We had to start late.
Excuse me?
Yeah, it's all her fault.
I'm just kidding. No, that's not true. Time got away from us. I want to thank you all for coming. This started out as trying to get an event for the firefighters ride at House of Harley Davidson, and then we had some other items that kept coming, so this would have been the time of our normal meeting. I'm going to call the roll. Alderperson Bailey is excused. Alderperson Sarian.
Present.
Alderperson Akers.
Present.
Alderperson Kastner.
Present.
Alderperson Driswicki.
Present.
We have a quorum under B, new business. B1 is discussion decision to transfer remaining capital funds from the ALPR camera account to the City Emergency Operations Center Technologies upgrade. This is a coordinated effort between Chief Johnson and Tim Lemmers. It involves the cameras that are in the cars and the need not to spend money that we otherwise would have because of the frugalness and foresight and ability to get cameras from an adjacent municipality that switched to a different system at an incredibly reasonable price. It's safer, secure, and saves us a ton of money over the course of time. I would urge approval unless you have questions.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Alderperson Driswicki, second by Alderperson Akers. Tim, did you want to say anything?
Only good questions.
Okay. I'll call Alderperson Sarian.
Aye.
Alderperson Akers.
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner.
Aye.
Alderperson Driswicki.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item B2 is the discussion decision regarding agreement with the Greendale School District to continue cooperative programming. There's a contract that's there. You should have it, I think, before you. Our city attorney chimed in on it. He suggested that we approve the agreement in its form. I want to use his exact language. He thinks that the agreement should be approved subject to final review and revision by the city attorney. And then we can talk to Greendale. Greendale has yet to approve the agreement, so there's still a little bit there. The sum and substance of the agreement remains solid and whole, and it's been a good continuing relationship for a long time. It's just the legal mumbo jumbo. I think it's the first time this group of city attorneys has reviewed the document. So we're
The motion to approve pending our city attorney's approval.
motion by Alderperson Akers, second by
Second.
Alderperson Driswicki. I'll call Alderperson Sarian.
Aye.
Alderperson Akers.
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner.
Aye.
Alderperson Driswicki.
Aye.
Moving along to item 3, B3, approve an outdoor special event application for the House of Harley Davidson Milwaukee Fire Department annual retirement lunch located at 6221 West Layton Avenue on August 14th. This includes all the typical licenses that are required for this type of event. I asked that this be placed on the agenda. It's next week, and they wouldn't be able to have the event for retired firefighters without this special common council
But this
meeting.
is for Milwaukee, City of Milwaukee. It's not for ours, is it?
That's just the name on it.
I think it is part of the Milwaukee Fire Department, but I think the many of the fire departments come to these things.
So it's like Milwaukee County, not the City of Milwaukee, okay?
It may be, I don't know. I don't know who's going to be there, but it's going to be firefighters who serve and protect us. Milwaukee Fire folks come into our city, not as much as we go into their city.
I think they do the same with the canines too.
They do.
I mean, we end up with some of that money as well as
Yeah,
Milwaukee.
I think it's a good thing, and I'm glad you're all here.
Pointing out that we want ours included too, you know?
Yeah. No, I think.
They're on the invite list?
Yes,
I think the
make
House of
sure.
Harley has been pretty generous
drinking is
to
the
our
best,
police
right?
department and our fire department, so when necessary. So I'd entertain a motion to approve the event
Motion to approve.
by Alderperson Kastner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Akers.
No?
Oh, it's Sarian? I'm
Sarian
sorry. I'm going to call on this one just in case. Alderperson Sarian.
Aye.
Alderperson Akers.
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner.
Aye.
Alderperson Driswicki.
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries unanimously. Item B4 is discussion and possible adoption of an ordinance to create section 11 or 11.14 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Greenfield pertaining to permanent accent lighting. This and the next item came from the Legislative Committee. Recently at the Legislative Committee, I think all 3 alderpersons were there, and our city attorney was there and helped draft this ordinance. I can't remember who's on, Bailey, Dreswicki, and Sarian. This related to a specific complaint in the community, I think, but did you want to go into it a little bit?
Very, very, very briefly, this will now mirror any sort of permanent accent lighting on the commercial side with now also residential property in terms of the hours of operation for restrictions, which is mainly overnight.
Can I just ask you one question?
Yes.
That I wasn't clear of, and I haven't looked at this ordinance. I just remember a lot of the discussion. So if I have accent lighting around the perimeter of my bushes around my house, or if I have path lighting that's solar powered, or is that,
That is all, so to be specific, that all of those types of things are not what this is addressing. This is specifically addressing something that would be called permanent accent lighting, and it's normally mounted directly to the roof or eaves around the roofing portion of your home.
So it's not your porch light?
It doesn't come down. It's not your porch light. It's not
Okay.
your lights, outside your home. It's not your spotlights. It's not your security lights. It's not your holiday lights. It's just permanent accent lighting, which is something completely different. And
so if somebody kept up, I'm just
Yep.
asking, if somebody kept up their holiday lighting all year round,
Yep.
this would impact that?
No, 'cause it's not.
No, because there's a separate ordinance right now that says you're not supposed to do that to begin with. But
Okay,
no, it still won't.
okay.
I am as equally confused as the mayor is on this. In other words,
Just,
I'm aware of a house that does it, that has, it looks nice. It's down on 43rd.
there's a house somewhere that I just drove by the other night when I was thinking about this, that has red, white, and blue
it's a holiday.
Christmas lights around, well, I think it was for the 4th of July, or maybe it's for the presidential election or something. I don't know what it's for.
Olympics?
Could be the Olympics. I think there was a USA sign in the yard, but I don't remember.
At the end of the day, all legislative is trying to approve is that these lights aren't kept on all night where they may interfere with other neighbors or other residents not being able to sleep or having significant bright lighting in some cases, if it's rain from reflections or otherwise, that may impact someone's ability to get a good night's sleep.
Okay.
And as much
We
as
have
this,
room
as
darkening
much as some of
blinds in
this
my house.
might seem silly because people should install blinds and other things, we have regulations on this on the commercial side for a reason, especially when there's super bright lights, and these don't even come anywhere near that, but there still should be,
I have a
Ours
neighbor
are-
with a spotlight that hits every one of my bedrooms.
we have separate ordinance for, and it's not being
But-
Do
enforced.
you know what ordinance that is, by
I
the way?
got-
I have a situation that
Top
I
of my
just
head,
got
but yes,
today.
I
We
have,
had to spend a lot of time carving this out of everything else.
I just
Okay.
bought room darkening blinds and I'm cool.
Okay. All right, so,
I still am confused on whether or not I have to turn my yard light off at 10 o'clock.
You do not.
How does it say that in here?
It's
There's
not
there's
accent.
separate ordinance that allows you to have your yard lights and everything else. It's
So
not-
accent lighting is different than a yard lighting.
That's correct.
So the neighbor across the street that beautifully lights up his trees at the top, he's not allowed to do that? Because it's accenting the trees?
That's not considered accent lighting because it's not permanently affixed to a building. Permanent accent lighting, this word in this bit has nothing to do with trees being lit or anything else.
it's accent lighting attached to a house.
Or
Yes.
garage, I would assume, but
Yeah,
I wouldn't
how,
accent my garage.
physical building,
Okay,
not the trees, not the,
So I permanently put my solar light attached to my gutter that lights up my house. I can't do that either?
that's treated still separate because it's considered a security light. Which we've carved out previously in other ordinance, so.
All right, I'm just worried about
okay,
enforcement.
all right. I'd entertain a motion to approve the item as presented.
Motion to approve.
By Alderperson Triswicki, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Kastner. I'm going to call this one. Alderperson Sarian,
Aye.
Alderperson Akers,
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner,
Aye.
Alderperson Triswicki.
Aye.
Okay, just as this ordinance passes, I would ask, we'll monitor it to make sure that it's not abused or it's not for which it was intended. Many of the comments that Alderperson Dreswicki made here at this meeting should be placed in the minutes so that there's a clear path to understanding what the intent of this ordinance is. because on its face, it looks like it could be subject to misinterpretation. So who's ever doing these minutes, please insert that historical legislative commentary. Okay. Item B5, discussion and possible adoption of an ordinance to create Section 13.11 of the Code of Ordinance for the City of Greenfield pertaining to short-term rentals, also, I think, called Airbnbs.
And likewise, there was
Yes.
a open end to that.
So before we begin discussion, can you give us a short rundown of what this is?
Yes, so in this particular case, for VRBO or Airbnb or any other type of a short-term rental, however that's going to fall under classification, the intention of this ordinance is to restrict larger entities, let's say a corporation or someone who wants to come in and buy 50 single-family homes in Greenfield from doing nothing but renting those homes for revenue and profit. Inherently, what we are trying to do is that if someone wants to, on a temporary basis, this is acceptable, but with the restrictions from the state and here in the city, we're trying to have somewhat of a mass prevention of a corporation in particular attempting to do that and making it even more difficult for a family to have a home here in Greenfield. So
Okay,
the
so-
ordinance as it's written now is somewhat of a mirror from a particular city in Ozaki and Waukesha County, and he has merged some of these items that have held up at the state level so that we do not have issues going forward or someone coming and questioning this.
Okay, so, and I just want to ask this because I wasn't at the legislative committee and I haven't read the minutes. So this refers to short-term rentals? So if a corporate or somebody, Barada from Milwaukee, came in and decided that he was going to buy 50 houses and he was going to rent them on one-year leases or something, does this ordinance impact that? Because that's not a short-term rental. The short-term rentals that I was aware of were the Airbnb where I'm going to rent my house for a week because it's Harley Week or it's the Republican convention and I can get my house payment for renting it for a week.
Right, so that is considered separate because it's a long-term lease or it's a year or more. So we're focusing.
What about
on-
6 months or more?
We're focusing.
Or month to month?
This is generally a blanket restriction within less than 356 days, so.
65 days?
364 days. So the intention is that if someone were to start a short-term rental at some day of the year, they have 180 days from that date to continue renting, and then they have to stop. That's state statute. So, but that's the window they get. So that if they start on January 3rd, they have 180 days for the rest of the year to rent on a short-term basis, and then they can't anymore.
So then when it comes to an Airbnb and I want to rent my house, this is sort of what this impacts, that I can rent it up to 180 days. Do the 180 days need to be continuous,
Consecutive.
consecutive?
Yep.
So if
Well,
I'm just asking, and I'm trying to get this stuff in there so there's some clarity when I have to deal. So it's January 1st and I rent it for the New Year's celebration, President's Day, I don't know, for a week to somebody. And I can do that up to 180 days.
You have to take out a whole bunch of stuff and have insurance apparently.
Okay, so if I do that for a week and then I don't do it again until Memorial Day, when I'm going to rent it again,
Yep.
does the 180 days start over?
Nope.
Or do I only get to rent my house for 180 days a year?
You have that window to rent from the first day that you rent. And
Of
then that's
180
it.
days?
Yeah.
So I could rent 180 days past January 1st, which I don't know what that's 186 months,
Yeah, basically.
right?
Well, then
So then after July 1st, I couldn't rent it then? I can only rent it the first 180 days So after July 1st or August 1st, whatever 180 days is, then after that, I can't rent it
If
anymore.
they started on January 1st, yes. If you started later in the year, then it would go later into the year.
So if I timed it right, I could rent on, say, Easter and get through Thanksgiving, whatever it is, through Thanksgiving. I could have my 180 days at any time of the year, whatever day I started on.
Yes, inherently, someone could attempt to abuse that to get a year-over-year window where they're going from July 1st to the next July 1st at the moment. But being
I'm
more.
glad you brought
being-
that up, because
being-
that was the only question that I
Being more
had.
restrictive than that,
We think alike.
we are overridden by the state right now.
So what is the state law? What
We
does the
have-
state
we
law
have
say?
to allow at least 180 days in a calendar year.
So is there, this ordinance allows us to enforce essentially the state, if we have to allow 180 days by the state, and this allows us to remain constant with that and not allow them to go 360 days. This allows us to keep it at the minimum of the minimum that the state allows,
Until something changes.
or the
on-
maximum
on-
of the
on
minimum.
That side of things.
And this allows us to now inspect as opposed to
Well,
before.
yes, so the other things that are a part of the ordinance are registration with the city, actually having a license, actually collecting tax as appropriate. All of those things have to actually occur for someone to participate in doing this in the first place, because without that, and without the regulation, and without the inspecting, we basically just allow people to do whatever they want, and that's not.
Can I ask you a question that kind of goes back a little bit? How do we know when the first day is that they're renting it out?
So this registration section here at least, so when they come in and they want to do this registration, they have to define when they're going to start.
Okay.
For the year.
And I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
what happens if they say, I'm starting July 3rd, and then their reservation falls through? Does it still start
It's-
July 3rd?
That's their window, regardless if they keep a reservation or
Whatever they
not.
said,
Yeah.
okay.
What if they don't register?
That's why we're putting this into effect, because inherently there probably will be someone that decides that they're gonna try and skirt everything.
So what if someone sells their house, closes on the house, they decide to live there for another 30 days? Do they need to register for that?
And what's the penalty if they don't register?
That.
I'm not trying to be facetious
No,
here.
no, and you're not wrong. That's treated separately. I have to pull the specific language.
I'm
for you.
sorry.
I know, this is.
Well, the
he's-
specific language
I know,
about-
he's not wrong. Inherently, you wouldn't want to be restricting somebody who bought and sold a home and needs to be there for an extra 30 days. And inherently, this whole entire ordinance would probably be overridden anyway by state law in that particular case. It would be. So I don't even think that's going to be a problem, to the best of my ability at the moment.
Yeah.
I feel like
Assume our city
housing
attorney
law is
caught
gonna
that one, yeah.
housing law is gonna override that regardless in that particular situation. You had another question, or did you ask something,
Did-
Mike?
Who's
Sorry.
going to enforce it?
So this is coming through generically right now through the city clerk's office for registration of that license, but then code enforcement would enforce in the event we are brought, or someone in the community brings to our attention that someone is renting property, and we can check with our records list at that point to see, are they on this list and did they register with us, or are they running an illegal? I use illegal conservatively, Airbnb, VRBO.
In
not being
violation of
registered
municipal
Within
ordinance.
the city via the.
And how much does it cost to register a house, do you remember? Just, or a place?
It's minimalist,
It,
like 30 or
yeah,
something.
this isn't,
A moneymaker?
Last weekend, when I was at a Verbo in whatever, Colorado, they had it posted that this was registered as a
you know,
home.
It's in our ordinance too. It has to be posted by the front door when you come in, that you'll see it.
that's
They
correct.
did.
I'm not objecting to it, I'm just trying to figure out how it works.
At the
Sorry.
moment, but I do believe it is $30. I have to go back and double check.
It could be
for the-
35 or something.
Inherently, it's to cover reasonable expenses of city staff having to do some
Then the,
registration.
then
So
the
this is
final,
gonna be complaint-based,
probably, right?
yeah, I'm thinking.
So then the final thing is, by doing this, it makes these rentals subject to the room tax.
Yes. which is part of the reason that they need to register in the first place, because they're supposed to be collecting room tax.
The big ones
And
do
we have been
collect, so we'd
collecting,
find
we
out
have
that
been
way.
collecting room tax from some places.
So we then
this
find
serves
out
as
to
a
find out
backup.
that they're not registered.
Right.
This serves as a backup for the time being, in the event that someone is getting around it.
So just like Capone, we could get them on the taxes.
Capone?
I'm just
Al?
kidding. I'm just, I was being facetious and I wasn't being serious. Okay.
Or president?
So I don't get so the other part of this though is I didn't get the corporate, if a corporate buys 50 houses thing. I mean, most of this seems to be directed at residential properties that are being rented as Airbnbs.
Yeah, so, on a short-term basis, so a corporate could come in and buy all those homes and rent them for a year or more, and there's
'Cause
not much we can do about it. But when-
Potentially that could clean up a neighborhood.
Potentially. I'm not sure if there's any neighborhoods that we have that are
Would-
owned by,
Need a corporation to come in, clean up the neighborhoods and rent them out. The houses may end up looking better.
yeah, or worse.
Or worse.
The ones in Milwaukee end up looking seemingly worse.
Well, those are nonprofit
If
corps.
I'm going to go to the
No,
bottom of
the-
the barrel right away, realistically, we are trying to prevent the creation of party-type homes or other things where it becomes a generic nuisance.
Well,
from
yeah, and it did say that in there. It was like, it can't have more traffic than would be expected for a residential neighborhood, and it can't impede on neighbors' yards.
We don't want somebody renting a home for a weekend and throwing a party for 100 people, and it's not even their property.
Carl does that all the time.
Yeah,
Not even his property.
I got once a year and
No, that's okay. All right, so I understand better. Again, the minutes should reflect those kinds of things, because this is, all right.
did we make a motion?
No, not yet. I'd entertain a motion to approve the
I'll make
change
a motion to approve.
by Alderperson Akers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Driswicky. I'll call Alderperson Sarian.
Aye.
Alderperson Akers.
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner.
Aye.
Alderperson Driswicky.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Reminder, 2 weeks from today is our next, and there's usually an item, I think, with regard to items for future agenda. I started meeting with the departments today, went through fire, HR, and police today, going over their budgets. Just to give you an update, because we didn't have the finance committee meeting because of, I get to throw out an opening ball Wednesday night, and I'm hoping you all come and drop some money for our library.
How much are tickets? It wasn't on
I
the
don't
flyer.
even know. I don't even know.
What, are you getting in free?
I don't get in free, and I don't get free parking, and I gotta get there early.
If he doesn't throw the first pitch, I have to.
You have to, is that, you were the, if you wanna throw it, that's fine with me, we can throw it together.
All you.
You
Then
do
we-
have to do the
Then we can
IR
rent a
code
house
before
maybe out there and,
so many days or hours.
huh?
You have to buy the ticket before you get there.
I gotta do something, I gotta figure that out tomorrow, I haven't had the time to figure that out. But, started the budget today, the assumptions are kind of, we're gonna need a closed session to kind of go over some of this stuff with regard to salaries and health insurance and all those kinds of things. Maybe we can do that at the common council meeting, that might make sense, as opposed to having a finance committee meeting where everybody should kind of be there as a whole anyways. So I may be, depending on how big that agenda is, I might be putting something on there, and I won't talk for hours about it. I may talk for hours about it, as Alderperson Akers giggles. But it was positive. There are no major initiatives that require an amazing amount of funding. I mean, we're trying to keep it level. Health insurance and wages are clearly the two big inputs in every budget. So that started today. In 2 weeks, I think I'll be done with all of the departments. So that's that. A couple other things I just wanted to say for the record. You'll see some construction equipment on the corner of 84th and Layton. The groundwork is beginning. The utility work for Cooper's Hawk and Chipotle, you will likely see that continuing over the next month and a half, something like that.
Did Starbucks come back with a new plan?
Starbucks came back with a plan, and if you're referring to the latter,
And the
They're
landscape around it.
requiring a ladder as part of the building, and they're gonna try to make it, and seriously, they tried to get out of the ladder requirement.
I just assume they plan more landscaping
I
than do the
think
ladder.
so Cobalt or who's ever building it or working with Starbucks, they're gonna do whatever they can. They understand the concern. But there was a ladder that went to the roof that was right off Layton that looked like, hey, why is that ladder there?
Yeah,
It's
it's-
apparently part of the requirements for the building.
Yeah,
From-
Culver's has one.
Yeah, and I don't understand that whole thing, but I think there's probably a code somewhere now that requires that you have a ladder and a platform on a roof that's easily accessible. But, so they're working on that, I guess. But you should see all three buildings begin construction this year, from what I understand.
Can we also say, even though I think I asked in a council meeting about 51st Street, or maybe it was in Public Works, I can't remember, I was told it wasn't gonna get closed, and now the signage is up, it's closing Monday.
Yeah, so this was quite a shock to me. So there's been a couple of things happening at 51st Street. It's the cut through for the entire, because of Loomis, for the most part, 51st is the
All the
first
time.
one. Everyone uses it all the time. I can assure you that there's much more law enforcement on that street.
Yeah, I had some complaints.
And
that
there
I-
has been, there
and
was
I-
at the beginning, and then there wasn't, and then there was some more, and then it, people learn and they slow down, and then it gets bad again, and there's more out there now. But the state notified us that they're gonna be doing some work underneath the overpass on 51st Street and expect to close 51st for 2 weeks, which is, I just kind of wish that they would have maybe waited until Loomis was reopened, or, of all the things.
Projects, so that's why. It was originally, we were told that 51st Street was gonna have some bridge work and 35th Street was gonna have bridge work.
Maybe they're
And both
reinforcing.
of them were gonna be closed down during this project, and our words were, you cannot close both 51st and 35th Street at the same time.
Right.
We can't
Maybe they're
have that.
reinforcing it for sound barriers, the bridge.
Could be.
I wouldn't
don't
comment.
I doubt that, but,
So-
I have to follow up on that too, I think, because I haven't heard.
We're just, so the sound barriers, it sounds like the DOT has come to a conclusion where there will be 3 barriers. There was once 4, and actually there was once 8 or 9, I thought, 7, 8, or 9. They've come to the conclusion where the 3 will be. They haven't told us yet kind of where they're gonna be. They haven't told us what they kind of look like. They haven't told us anything, but that's supposed to be coming. I've also been told or learned this week that the 894 project may not complete this year. It sounds as if there was some sort of engineering problem with something. I'm not sure what it is, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but it sounds as if that it was a pretty significant problem, and that
They
894
should have
may
fixed the whole thing?
well, maybe they should have. I don't want to.
Yeah, I know.
I'm in such a good mood today because I have a new puppy that I don't want to say anything that, but yeah, so it sounds like 894 is going to continue to be a complete hassle going into next year so they can finish
I
it.
mean, I have been getting calls about the construction noise lately. I mean, the people have been really good talking to me about it, like one of them, like, they were jackhammering 2 nights in a row and right next to his house.
Right.
And he was very polite in his message to me. He's like, who can I contact about this? And I called him back immediately, didn't get him, but left him messages with the phone numbers of who to contact, and he even called me back and thanked me for that. Another one was, she was just hysterical about it, when are the sound barriers coming? I can't handle this anymore.
No.
I mean, this has been the same thing from,
This is before the construction, but
and
now,
along
but now the
35th to 20, that whole other section now, they've,
Just opened up that. That wasn't as bad because there used to be trees and stuff blocking it, but people are like, you took down the foliage and now we're hearing it more. And
It's-
it's these are the people that are right on the
So
freeway.
the complaints that I've been hearing is that, so I drove all the way to Florida, right, through construction almost in every state, and I drove recently to Missouri through construction in every state. And of all the construction that I went through, the construction that's happening on 894 is by far the most haphazard that I've seen. The fact that they're putting the concrete slurry in for the cracks, right? They're doing all this stuff, and sooner or later it'll get graded, and they'll cover it, right? And they'll do all that. But just the tire noise and the bumpiness and that's,
Well, and then you have the added traffic onto Layton.
and you have the added traffic onto Layton,
Same.
you have the added
It's an-
traffic onto Cold Spring, you have,
Well, the semi-traffic at night is a constant roar at my house at
Right.
night, all night. It's a constant
and
rumble
all the
year.
engine braking with the big pipes that are illegal. that-
Yeah, but they're doing it. Yep, they're
and-
doing,
and-
there's a truck I can pick out to you, a semi that does it during the day. I'm like, really? You know?
There's the one that does it at 10:30, 11 o'clock every night on the Hale interchange, coming around the turn, every single night.
All right, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
motion by Alderperson Driswicky to adjourn, second by Akers, all in favor.
I
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries at 6:30.